Hey, everybody. Yeah, it's not going into focus for me. We don't have any Albert Moy theme music, but if I did, I'd be playing it right now. I finally bought some art from Albert about 2 weeks ago, and it just came in the mail today. So he sent me a bunch of tchotchkes, which I figured I'd share today. So I'm obviously wearing one of his buttons. He sent me, I asked him for one mask. He sent me not one, not two, but three. So Albert was in a very charitable mood. You can always ask him for stuff like this, and sometimes he'll send it to you. I know he was giving away the face mask for a while, and it's like a couple months ago I had asked him to hold this one for me because I've always loved that logo that he's always used on his site, and he gave me a couple extra ones. And the piece of art I got was a Bruce Timm sketch. So it's my first Bruce Timm as well. So like I said, I've told you I've been trying to buy a little bit more art now, and that's how I am taking care of the people that take care of me, like Albert. So there you go, Albert. Now I've pimped him. So that, I should tell you, Albert is supposed to be on the show next week when we have the show on Thursday. So fingers are crossed that he's not going to break that date, but we'll see. I hope he can make it. And next Tuesday, the Comic Art Live show will also be just Will, Glenn, Mike, and I, and we're going to be doing a show based on talking about affordable art from well-known creators. So it's should be something fun. We kind of kicked around different ideas, and we thought that would be a fun one to kind of start off on, where we could talk about Kirby or Buscema's and talk about what, if you want to start, just get your self into those markets a little bit, to where you can kind of start. You don't have to go after the high-end pages. You can go after lesser pages just to get your foot in the door and get your feet wet with some pieces. And Bill, I would agree. Albert is the best. He definitely is. He is. He's always taking care of me. So, and he's got a site redesign coming up in 2021 too. So I've got to keep him happy as well. So this is the 25th CAF update, and I appreciate the fact that you guys have been hanging around so long and enjoying them as much as I've been enjoying doing them. It's hard to imagine it's been almost a half a year now. And I think I started this when I had an appendicitis. That same week was the first week that I did this, and so it's really been a joy, because I can tell you it's kind of revitalized my passion for the hobby. Not that I was down in any way, but it's really given me a focus. I think I've looked at the site a lot differently, and I've looked at the hobby a lot differently. And for me, I'm looking forward to 2021. This is the last show for 2020, and I'm just excited, more excited than I've ever been in the 18 years that I've been doing CAF, and it really is because of just being able to interact with you guys in a different way that we never did before, and it's really been great. And Brian asked a question about, have I ever done a show on animation art? We sort of had a conversation with Larry about 2 months ago, and that one was kind of focused on, he actually had an animation art shop in I believe the mid 80s until the mid 90s. So we talked a little bit about animation art, but it wasn't the focus of that particular show. But I can tell you in 2021, what we want to do with this show and the Tuesday show that we have with the dealers is kind of branch out. I mean, we're doing interviews all the time as well, but focus in on niches, whether it's animation art, whether it's a particular artist, and just base shows around different themes, not just interviewing people in the hobby like the interview we did with Jim Warden last night. I've been wanting to talk with Jim for 20 years. I've known him. We've emailed a few times, but he was somebody I've never chatted with. So I've kind of looked at these interviews as opportunities to get to know people that I've always wanted to get to know. And as it turns out, I think, most people want to get to know these guys too. So that's how we were approaching the interviews, but certainly an animation show. We're doing a strip art show. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I believe it's the Tuesday after next. We are doing a special show on George Harriman, who did the Crazy Cat dailies back in I believe the 20s and 30s. So I've got 4 collectors who I've never had on the show before, and that's their area of expertise. So we're just going to do a show. We're going to talk about Harriman's work and his legacy and his contribution to the hobby, and the fact that he's influenced so many strip artists, and illustrators, over the last practically 100 years. So, that's the type of show that we want to do in 2021. A lot more of that. And even with talking with Jim Warden. Jim Warden is a big collector of Pogo. And so after we got done talking last night, we had decided that I was going to try to line up a few other Pogo collectors and try to put together a show around that as well. So again, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm totally open to suggestions too, because I want to put on shows that you guys want to see. So if people have ideas on what they would like us to do, I'm all ears. And I'll tell you, as far as interviews go, I always forget this. I get asked a lot about getting newer collectors in the interviews, and I'd love to interview newer collectors. The thing is, I don't know a lot of newer collectors, even though I run CAF. I should know who they are, but at the end of the day, I don't. So anybody who's been collecting for, that maybe started within the last 2 years, shoot me an email. We'll find a way to get you on the schedule. And whether it's this chat's just with me or it's with the dealers, we'd like to hear your stories too. And because the thing that one of the best things about doing all of these chats for me has been the feedback that I get from people. And the feedback I get, ironically, is from people who are new to the hobby or who haven't really experienced the hobby just through ordering things through the mail. They haven't gone out to shows. And when they hear the stories of other collectors, they're really appreciating the fact that they can relate. They're like, wow, okay, so my story and the things that I've gone through isn't really different. I've made the same mistakes that Bill made and that Mike made and everybody else made when they got into the hobby. So again, if you're a newer collector, just hit me up. I'd love to do a couple shows straight up with younger collectors in the hobby. Younger meaning just this their time in the hobby. And I have lined up one show that for somebody who's been in the hobby for I think 12 months roughly, and that show is later in January. But I'd like to do more. So okay. Oh, and Carlos says invite Cam Jarvis. I actually have been emailing with Cameron because he's going to be having an ad on CAF. So I would love to have Cameron on. Definitely. He's I love the guys he reps. He seems like a really nice guy, and that would be someone that I'd like to chat with. And that's the other thing too. I want to utilize the platform in different ways. I mean, it's I'm trying to help raise awareness for the hobby, raise the awareness for the people who are just starting out. I mean, I didn't know Cam until I just kind of stumbled on a piece of artwork in a CAF gallery from somebody who was repping. I didn't know anything about it because he had never sent me a press release before. So it's really it's funny how you think you know everything. You're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, you know all the places, all the dealers, and all the people who are selling art or hanging out, and you stumble on something like that. So at any rate, he would be a good person for me to shoot an email to and ask about having on the show sometime. A couple other things before we get started is if you're not familiar with what the best of is, every year, at least probably for the last 15, 16 years on Comic Art Fans, we've hosted a best of collected artwork for the year prior. So this current show will be, or competition will be, the best of 2020. The way it works is you have to have your artwork submitted to CAF, posted in your CAF gallery by midnight Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. So it's really, if you submit it after that, unfortunately, you'll be submitting it for it'll only qualify for the best of 2021. So you got to get your artwork submitted by midnight Eastern tomorrow to qualify for it. And it really is it's not a competition. There's no prizes. It's more of a celebration of the hobby and your collected artworks for the year. It's your opportunity to share some of what you consider your best pieces that you collected, from the last 12 months. And it's always fun because I miss stuff all the time. And then we do the best of, and you really do get to see a lot of interesting artwork and artwork that you didn't even know was on CAF. And what it is you're allowed to submit, and I'm probably going to screw this up. You think after 15 years I know all the rules, but we did change them up a little bit last year. But you can submit 5 pieces. You submit them to different categories like published covers or an unpublished cover, commissions, convention sketches. Brian Peck has it broken down in different categories. So you literally go to a page that will show you everything you've added to CAF in 2020, and you can pick the assignment for that and submit it to it. Submissions are going to start on January 9th. It's a little later than usual. I'm not sure why Brian wanted to wait that long because I really would be ready by the 2nd or 3rd, but January 9th is the start date for submissions. We usually give people about a week to get the submissions in, and then we do a voting period. Basically, the voting is just, the collectors can look at the work that was submitted and kind of pick their favorites. And it ends up being a ranking, of 1 through whatever. We might get 100, 200 pieces submitted to the interior pages category. And, and again, the recognition that way is relatively, insignificant, but cool because, usually the creme de la creme, right? The best pieces that people pick up that year are the ones that end up getting voted on the most. But for me, it's just getting to see all the pieces at one time and in one place. And when my wife and I, my wife does all the programming for CAF, we were talking about doing a year-end report for 2020, which kind of ties really nicely into the best of. And when we were discussing what we were going to do programming wise for that, it was like a stupid moment for me when I just realized this report that I'm going to put together is something that I'm going to have and make accessible to everybody to run at any time on CAF to see what was popular in a given time period. I don't know why it's never occurred to me before, probably because I never thought about running or doing some kind of a year-end recap about the hobby in general. Artwork added to CAF and sales from dealers and whatnot. Now that we're kind of branching out and doing more, I want to leverage the data that we have on CAF to make CAF more useful and more fun and intriguing for everybody. So what I'm going to do is put this special report together, and my plan right now is to do a special show next Monday, and I'll reveal this report and I'll put it out on CAF, and people can just play around with it. It's going to be, I think it's going to be really cool. I mean, for me as a data junkie, just being able to go in there and say, show me all the artwork that was added January 2020, and show me which ones have gotten the most comments or the most views or the most likes, and just kind of parse through the data like that. I mean, I want to go back to see what happened in 2005 in January and see which pieces are still on CAF and are ranked in those most commented or most viewed. It's going to be pretty cool. It'll be a really neat way to go back and look at work that other collectors have found important pieces to be on CAF after all these years. So yeah, it's we're going to work on that over the weekend. It should be ready by Monday, and it'll be a part of my report that I deliver live streamed on Monday. As far as anything else, I think that's it. But please get your best of submissions done tomorrow night, because I can't let it go past that. Yeah, okay. I always put Post-it notes on my monitor, and I've got all that fun stuff covered. So I want to jump into our CAF update for the week now. A couple things to note. Of course, it was the holiday weekend with Christmas and whatnot, so dealers' sales were down somewhat considerably, and it's just it's to be expected. This week's also about the same. I've been kind of monitoring the sales for the week, so it's kind of in the same position. A couple things. I don't want to forget this. Jim Lee is doing his auctions again on eBay. You get to eBay, you can find him. He's finally started them up. Remember, he was doing those ones that supported the comic shops. He had stopped doing them beginning of summer or maybe mid-May. Well, he's going to finally finish, I think, the last 10 or 12 of them. And I believe there's 2 on eBay right now. So you want to check those out. And Mike Mignola's charity auctions, he's doing his last one. That one ends tomorrow afternoon. And I really don't want to forget, because I've not mentioned it ever yet, is Felix Liu from Felix Comic Art has been doing a charitable auction that supports something called the Felix Liu. I always forget. Let me double check. I always kind of screw this one up. It's Felix's the Liu Family Fund, and right now he has 2 auctions going on for a Nick Dragota piece and Ian Bertram piece, and they're not on eBay. You can follow and place your bids through Felix's website or through any of his social channels, like on Facebook or Instagram. And I know that those 2 auctions end tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So keep those in mind. I don't think they're the last ones that he's doing. He's already had several others before that, but definitely something to check out. Felix does a great job kind of getting these things out there, and they do go for a good cause. And please support the work that he does. So back to the report, though, with comic art dealers. Last week, the week before this, we had $471,000 in sales. This week, it is down to $235,000. And I'm going to pull up just the quick summary on that. So the first piece here was sold by Panel Page Art. It's a Jack Kirby title page to Machine Man #3. And it's sold for $20,000. Asking price, of course, we never know for sure, whether it's cash trade or whatnot, but that was the price it was marked for sale or sold at. This next piece was sold by Albert Moy. It's Catwoman #37 cover by Darwin Cook, sold for $18,000 as an asking price. This one was sold by Romita Man, and it was, of course, by Jack Kirby and Sid Shores inking him. This is from Captain America 101, page 3. I just really like, Nick Fury and everything in there, and the dialogue in that page is great. And this piece was sold and then unsold. So it did actually sell, and it's back for sale on Panel Page Art. It's by John Romita Sr. It's an amazing Spider-Man TV presentation piece. It sold for $10,000, but the buyer ended up switching and buying something else, and that piece went back. So, but I kept it in the report. This is a Hulk 180 page by Herb Trimpe, sold by Panel Page as well for $9,000. And this last piece was sold by Glenn from Panel Page Art as well, and it sold for $8,500. It's a Rob Liefeld Cable New Mutants 150 cover. Now, with the auction houses, the report is a bit skewed this week because, as probably most people know, Heritage always used to have their weekly auctions end on Sunday. So when I started doing my weekly reports, my Monday through Sunday were great. I was able to put Heritage in there every week. Well, then Heritage they split their auction and they moved the artwork to Monday. Well, I didn't want to mess up my reporting because I didn't want to have this gap. Well, I've decided to finally have a gap, and so I'm not reporting on Heritage this week. So our numbers are a little bit down. Prior week there was $305,000 in sales. So this week, where I'm just counting eBay, it was the sales were for $179,000. So I'm bringing this up here. First piece is a Tim Sale Batman Long Halloween Splash from 1997. It sold for $12,988. Don't see these too often on eBay. This kind of stuff you usually would see on Heritage. So it was pretty cool to see that piece up there at no reserve auction. This is one of Mike's pieces. It's a Batman robot and Hellboy, of course. It sold for $7,650. And next up is this Jack Kirby Black Panther 5 splash page from 1977. It sold for $6,500 from the same seller that sold the Tim Sale piece, actually. This is a J. Scott Campbell Miss Fury cover. Not really familiar with the title. It sold for a buy it now price of $3,500. And it was at eBay as well. And then I'm just doing one other eBay. It was for a Spectacular Spider-Man Annual number 6, page 1. From Mark Beecham and Joe Rubenstein. It sold for $3,000. So next week we will have the Heritage results mixed in with the with everything else. So apologies to Heritage for skipping them, but I should have skipped them when they did the change back in, I don't even know when they did it, May or maybe April. So I want to get over to the popular artwork as well, and the last week was a little bit slow, of course, because of the holidays, but I still was able to pull together 13 pieces that I wanted to feature today. And it's kind of the same sets of collectors as well as a few collectors I haven't featured artwork before. So let's get started with that. First up is this Marvel Team Up number 44 cover. It's by Gil Kane and Dan Adkins. It's from the collection of Dan Drummond. This is a West Coast Avengers number 61 cover. Collection of Nick Verrucci. Artist is Paul Ryan. And once again, Nick has been posting like a madman. If he could have 20 pieces in the best of, he should, but he can't. This is X-Men number 1, page 4. Jack Kirby, of course, in the collection of Dinesh Shamdasani. Great page. Next up is this Captain America 273, page 3 from my buddy Khalil. This is, of course, Mike Zeck and John Beatty. Fantastic page there, man. And this is from Action Comics, number 791. It's the cover, of course, by Gary Frank, 2017. This is in the collection of Paul P. And this is Paul's piece as well. This is from Superman Man of Steel, number 53. This is a title double-page spread. Spread, of course, because it has other panels on it, not a double-page splash. It's from 1996, John Magdavone and Dick Giordano. This is in the collection of Glenn Crane. It's Virgil Finley, of course. This is a famous Fantastic Mysteries cover from October 1942. Next up is this Andy Kubert's Batman Son of the Demon cover. It's in the collection of Mark W. And this is the fantastic father-son duo or son-father duo of Paulo and Joe Rivera, collection of Andy Wurst. This is the Web Warriors cover number 11. You can pick up work by Paulo and Joe from their Rep Splash Page Art, of course. This is a page from Daredevil 10, page 10, collection of comic art B. This is Wally Wood pencils and Bob Powell layouts. This guy needs some comments on this. This is another piece from Dinesh. This is George Perez's Crisis on Infinite Earth. It's number 6 cover. And when I last checked it only had like 4 comments on it. It had more likes on it than comments. So somebody needs to get in there and fix that. This is from the collection of Scott Green. It's by Gene Colan and Tom Palmer, of course. It's Tomb of Dracula. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, and it was posted on December 24th, ironically enough. I think that was Scott's jab at being funny there. It was good. And this is, of course, Action Comics 606 cover, collection of Paul P. again. It's by Kerry Gamble and John Nyberg. So I hope you enjoyed all those. I've already probably picked out about half of the pieces I'm going to be featuring tomorrow, and it's going to be really tough for next week, because with tomorrow being the cutoff for best of, everybody's posting a lot of art. Usually we get about 200 pieces of art to 250 pieces of art added onto CAF every day, and I think last time I checked, we've been yesterday and today we've been over 300, and my guess is with the last minute stuff we'll probably have like 500 or 600 pieces posted tomorrow. So it's probably going to make picking a set of artwork to feature next Thursday really difficult. So we'll see. I'm sure I'll be able to wing it and work something out. And let's see. So I've got all that out of the way. I do have a guest this evening. Ken Carter is going to be on here, so I want to bring him in and welcome him to the show. Hey, Ken, how you doing?
Hey, Bill. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, man.
Great.
I can tell you, when we were doing the mic test, you were probably the best mic that we've ever had on the show. Even though this is your first moment on the show, when we did the test, usually I've got to work with people to try to get them positioned right. I feel like you must have done this before.
Plug and play hockey puck is what's working for me.
Dang.
I got to say that way to make me feel inadequate about my collection by showing me all those amazing pieces before you bring me on to top.
I've always thought about doing those at the end, just because I know a lot of people like to see what I feature, because I don't post what I'm going to show before we do the video, and then I do post this as there's a link to this list so people can actually click them and see them on CAF after the show's over. So maybe I should wait until the end. Maybe you're right. That's how.
No, it's fun. It was fun to watch.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. So, how we start these things off. I mean, at the end of the day, we always want to know kind of how you got started collecting art, and or maybe comics first. When did you first get started collecting original art, and maybe what was your first purchase? Let's kind of go there.
Yeah, so it started in comics for me, for sure. And so probably back in high school, I remember deciding I got ghostwriters here and there. My mom would buy me a comic or whatever, but I had a friend that actually collected in high school, and I decided I was going to collect. And, I remember making that first Uncanny X-Men purchase off the spin rack at the local 7-Eleven. And I actually wrote it down because I do want to try and find that cover. It was an X-Men 169. It was a Morlock storyline right before Storm shaved her head to the mohawk.
Right. So it's a Paul Smith cover? Is that?
I'm not sure. I was actually just looking it up because I remember it vividly, but I couldn't tell you who the artist is. And it's Angel up on kind of.
Oh, the one where he's.
Yep.
That's Paul Smith. Yeah, no, I'm a big X-Men fan. So yeah, that'll set you back, but it's it's a good one. I can't say that I've seen it. I mean, I know that I can't. I'd have to go back and look through some of my market data to see if it's ever been on the market. I don't believe it has, but they are tough.
Yeah, and that's one that I would definitely buy for nostalgia reasons, if nothing else. But yeah, so I collected for years, had tons of long boxes. Stopped collecting for a period when I was in college, came back to it when I had a job and could afford to feed that habit again for a bit. Along the way, ultimately stopped again when so many titles came out there. I mean, I was an Uncanny X-Men fan, and then they break it up into 5 teams and what more. You're buying more books. So anyway, it got a bit much, but. My first comic book art, I didn't even know you could buy it. I got into some independent stuff, and I started reading a book from Drew Hayes called Poison Elves.
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember Poison Elves.
Oh yeah.
Loved reading the book, loved the art, and even more loved to read. He's got the section in the back of the book that I think he called Death Threats, and he would pontificate on whatever was going on, as well as, you know, answer questions and write some things. And at one point, he said that that you could that he would sell if you sent him you know, a list of pages, you know, your top 5 pages or whatever that you would like. If he had them, he would sell them to you for $100. So I did that and got a page, which I no longer have, and it's one of my regrets of letting it go. I thought I was doing a really big thing because I got more than I paid for it, but at the end of the day, I really miss it. But that would have been my first page. It was a great Poison Elf page. Still didn't know the hobby was out there, but was starting to learn about it. Was starting to hear that, you know, you could, well, if he was doing this, then what are others doing? And started looking for it on eBay, which I'd never really done before. So yeah, that would have been my first one. My first one that I bought off of eBay, which I think is one that you have in your list there, is the and I don't know if I gave it to you first, but it was the Simon Bisley page. Yeah, that's it. So and I got it off eBay. Was super excited that I found one that I could afford on eBay. And I'm 99% sure that was an eBay purchase, and remembered it again, nostalgic. Remembered it from. I had the comic when I was collecting, and I would buy anything Beasley. And that was from it was a book called Thumpin' Guts, but it had a cover on it that said Project X, and it had a bag around it, so you couldn't even see what was inside. And I think it had a card or something else with it. And someone else mentioned, I think they did a couple of other things randomly, and you just didn't know what you were going to get. But yeah, that was probably my first actual published, other than the Drew Hayes page. That's the first one that I've kept and own.
So what year did you start collecting, or what year was it? Well, first off, what was it? When was the Drew Hayes piece picked up?
Yeah, that, you know, I should have gone back and done the math for this, but that was probably 97-ish, okay. Maybe earlier, but somewhere in that ballpark. So this one would have been somewhere back then as well. And I've kind of come and gone from collecting when I think I can afford and when I can't. So it's a pretty wide range. You mentioned wanting to have new collectors or people new to the hobby. I consider myself new to the hobby. I've been doing it for over 10 years off and on, but I'm a complete and utter novice when it comes to these things. And I actually learned a whole lot. When I found CAF for the first time, my mind was blown. There's this whole community out there of people that are really into this, because I really didn't have any close friends or anything that were doing this. I was finding it on my own as I went, and I got sucked into the thought of owning the original piece that was then, you know, reproduced into millions of copies of popular books. But it was, you know, but I've got that original piece. That the thought of that just blows me away. So that's the addiction to me. That's the piece I'm really, unfortunately I can't afford a lot of the really fantastic things, but I mean, that's the draw. I like the one of a kindness of owning the original. Everybody else can look at the copies, but I've got the original. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, art's not for, you know, for everybody, but I think when people catch the bug, they're ready to just stop collecting comics, and they make that switch, and it's true. I mean, the same thing happened to me right around the same time frame. I probably got my first piece around 97, and by 98, I was scouring eBay, you know, several times a week trying to find good buys, and because, you know, back then there weren't a lot of really great dealer websites for original art, and eBay was kind of where it was at. So I mean, that's a really nice piece. The Bisley piece they picked up is great.
And it's interesting because I never knew what these things are worth. I've had a few people kind of ask me about it, and I would ask them what they would offer, and most of some of those folks had actually done a lot of or collected a number of Bisley things. So I was just interested, and I told them, look, I just don't know, so I'm probably not going to sell it, but what would you think it's worth? Because I'm just trying to gauge myself for future knowledge and what to put down at the bottom of my entry in CAF, because I have no clue. So so in the comic book stuff, when I went overseas for a bit, I couldn't buy comics when actually I did, had a friend buy comics for me while I was overseas, but I wasn't reading them. And then I came back, he gave me what he bought. I went through everything and I thought, I've got all these books that I realized I buy them for the artwork. I can read a bad comic with great art before I read a good comic with bad art. If the art doesn't do anything for me, I really struggle to stay into the story with the pictures. I'd rather read it as a novel. If it's that good as writing, I'd rather read it as a novel. So that just started. I made a big push. I sold everything on eBay. I had like 12, 13 long boxes, which isn't a huge collection for several folks that are probably out there. But for me, it was stuff that took up a lot of space and you had to move it all the time. So I sold most of it on eBay, and then I had brought back a nice watch from overseas that I was sitting there looking. I was like, man, I could really buy some really cool things if I got rid of that watch. So yeah, sold the comics, sold the watch, and had a big push where most of my collection came from was during that push where I had some extra money and actually kind of went after a few things that I thought were cool. And here I am. I was out for a while, not very active on CAF, but back in now. I still love to check the new art. Still love to see what's going on, and actually I put a new commission on. I'll put a couple of new pieces on probably in the last year, probably in 2020. I probably had a couple of new, but looking forward to doing some cool things going into the new year.
Yeah, well, you had mentioned you're in the Houston area, and I know that there are a lot of collectors that in the Houston area, and they have, well, COVID's changed a lot of it, but there were a couple of groups that met a few times a year. I mean, where they had just get-togethers, just not to buy or sell or trade, but just to get together and just show off your portfolio. So it's so you're in a really good spot if you were ever interested in that. I know that I'd have to go back through my emails to see who the guys were that organized it, but it sounded like they always had 15, 18 guys. So, the collectors that would show up and they would just kind of hang out, have a beer and look at art. It's and it's true. Like Houston, there was one group in Chicago and several in New York and LA that would, do the same thing. But yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, when you start collecting, you think, you don't realize that there are a lot of other people, like-minded people that really enjoy the artwork and enjoy comics for the art as much as you do. And it's the same thing for me. I built CAF just because I didn't know anybody, and I thought, well, if I do this is some way everybody's gonna have to get to know me. But it's true. You kind of feel alone.
So, and that was CAF blowing my mind a second time was here recently when I found that you even do this. And you get to, the folks that might comment on my pieces, maybe there's a little dialogue, maybe I get an email, but rarely was there too much more. There's one or two, like Greg Spatz. I'm him on Facebook, and super nice guy, and was great to talk to. Had a super interesting collection. So. That was a little bit of an introduction to the people you're talking about that may be meeting, but then you go to, you have this and you're seeing faces and you're hearing people, the dealers were just a website to me, but now I'm seeing the dealers and talking about, their collections and how they do what they do and all that kind of stuff. It's fascinating. So I've thoroughly enjoyed this, the video aspect of it as I found it.
Yeah, trust me, I regret the fact that I didn't start doing these until May.
Oh.
I look at it and well, I tried doing interviews the summer before that, but I didn't have this platform where we could do them live. I had to record it and then edit it, and I'd do a 2-hour interview, and then it would take me 8 hours to put it together, and then I'd post it to YouTube, and I was like, this is not the way to do it. So I skipped a year, and then I discovered this, and I'm like, this is the way to go. No matter how many mistakes we make, we can't cut it out. Whereas the other one, I'd sit there and try to fix the audio and, take out every that I would say, every other time. So at any rate, I'm glad. I'm really glad. Trust me, it's meant, it means a lot that people have enjoyed, hearing these. And Greg's actually got one of my favorite collections on the site. So it's pretty cool that you hooked up with him. I mean, I'm a big, I don't know, science fiction fantasy kind of fan. And, Greg's work and the commissions that he gets, he gets off the wall artists to do characters that you never see them do. And so I just, his whenever his name comes up on the list, he's a gallery that I always check out. So yeah, he's definitely, one of my favorite collections to take a look at. So Greg's
you ever been on the show?
No, not at all. No, he should be though, shouldn't he? Yeah. I don't think I ever asked him. See, all right, I'm writing it down.
He's a good one. Good guy too, super friendly.
Yeah, definitely. No, and that's what, then that's what you find. And, CAF doesn't do a great job of it, but the thing is, people are very open about talking about the hobby and giving people advice and chatting about their collection. You'd think that people would be more guarded, but a site like CAF thrives because people like to show off their artwork. They want people to see it and appreciate it and high five them for it. And that is, how people have, made friends and found artwork that they were looking for. I mean, one of the great things I always hear about is like, say if Greg might tell you, hey, I'm looking for this, and you might find it and let him know. It's like, now you have this network of people that are also trying to look out for you. And I don't think it was that, the network was much smaller back when we started, in the late 90s. So it's cool. It's very cool. And, I love hearing stories like that.
It was easier to get comments back then. You put your, you put your piece out and you get your baller comment from
right.
Foggy Bottom.
Right. Baller. Exactly. I know one of the reports I wanted to run was who's made the most comments, year to year. And I have a feeling it would be Foggy Bottom with his, one word exclamation point comments, but that's okay. But I kind of felt like people would like to know that. I'd like to know it. It's one of the, so when I'm pulling together the report that I'm going to post on Monday and review, that's one of the metrics. I want to see, who are the top 10 commenters, who's really active out there. I mean, I think I know who they all are, but it would be really cool to see, who those people are, because those people really make CAF special.
Sure.
You see those names and they just kind of keep the site rolling and keep everybody engaged. And, it's cool. And so I do want to do that and be able to acknowledge the fact that there are these people who really, really have contributed to CAF, well beyond just posting artwork in their gallery.
Even the one word baller comment. I mean, getting a comment is super cool. Somebody took the time to really acknowledge, what something that you posted that you're pretty proud of and you threw up there. It was neat.
Oh yeah. I don't know if I've had to have gotten a baller comment from him, but I don't remember any. It would be interesting to see whose collections he said baller to more than others. That would be the other metric. I don't know if I can get my wife to program that, but that would be pretty funny to check out. I remember there's another guy, Eric De Los Santos, who posts a lot too. He's a big commenter, and there's been people like over the years. It's like a few guys that I haven't seen in a while that for the first 10 years of CAF or maybe somewhere in the middle posted all the time, different comments and were very thorough and fall the wayside. I think everybody kind of gets to the point where sometimes they just kind of burn out and they need to take some time off. And then they, sometimes they jump back in and sometimes they don't. But, it's how it is what it is, right? It's Facebook is my enemy at the end of the day. I know we're streaming to Facebook, but Facebook sucked a lot of people who were heavy commenters, and got them to do all their comments over there. I mean, like they'll still use CAF, but they don't use it in the social way that they were using it earlier. And it kind of sucks, but because I always remember, CAF has been out there longer than Facebook. So I think I got them by about a year. But I never, early on, I just wasn't thinking of it as a social platform, and I didn't really realize the impact that networking would have through the site. I was just thinking of it as a gallery site. So I kind of missed the opportunity there to make it be like that. So, you live and learn, but we're trying.
The other thing that was super cool to me as a novice in the hobby, and just realizing it was a hobby, was you see a cool comment on one of your pieces, and then you go look at that person's portfolio, and they've got amazing works, in there, and you're thinking, holy smokes, this. So that is a pretty good piece. If this guy that collects this stuff took the time out to acknowledge this one, maybe that is pretty special. Because I'm like probably like most, I certainly don't speculate when I buy art. I buy because it strikes me, and I buy it for art. So anything that I'd love to put up on the wall. So anyway, again, just kind of makes me, okay, well, maybe my taste is actually pretty good, because this guy would have picked up this same piece if he could have.
Right. No, I'll tell you, I always appreciate getting comments on pieces I've had on the site for 5 or 10 years. I like the fact, that's the great thing about CAF, and the thing that you can never get on a site like Facebook is having somebody discover something that's been there for that long. Because in Facebook, whatever you posted, it's gone tomorrow. It's gone by mid-afternoon. And at least on CAF, if you're searching, you're looking around, you can find stuff that people posted 20 years, well, it's 18 years ago. February 1st, it'll be 18 years old. So that's the thing that I always find really cool when I get an email, that a comment was posted on something that I has been out there forever. And I always look at it like, damn, that's one where I haven't updated the scan in years. I really need to make a bigger scan. So, but it's good. It's great. I mean, yeah. And Brian Tidwell says that he is a proud recipient of at least one baller comment. Yeah. Congratulations.
I have to do my baller total. I know I've got probably 3 or 4, but
we should make that a metric on the site. Like, who, like I said, who's got the most baller comments? And Nick, hey, Nick, I don't know if you tuned in earlier, but I featured some of your pieces. So you have to go back and check those out if you didn't see them. But thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. So why don't we look at a few other pieces from your collection? I mean, I kind of set up a few other images here. So we've shown the Bisley. So when we look at this Hoffman piece.
So this is exactly how novice I was. I bought this on eBay. She was mostly done. There was no background whatsoever. He was kind of working in some of the paint, and he eBayed it as an unfinished piece, I guess. And I won the auction, and I fully expected to get the piece, that unfinished piece that I just bought looking at it. And I don't know if I missed it in the description or whatever, but when it came this full piece. I was blown away. So this is me growing up loving Frazetta and loving Boris Vallejo, and this is the closest I'm going to get to buying either of those as an original.
No, Hoffman's early work was really, I think this period of his work was really good. I mean, I liked it a lot, and this is a great piece, a very good example of, from Mike for sure. I do remember you had mentioned that you're a big Frazetta and Boris fan. If you ever get the opportunity to go to a show, there's a show in PA when shows happen again, and every October called IX Arts Show, and it's, I want to say it's Altoona, but I probably have that wrong. Reading. It's in Reading, Pennsylvania. It had been in Altoona, but it's all science fiction fantasy. So you got guys like Greg Hildebrandt, Boris is there, Julie Bell. It's a 5-day show, so you can literally, just go in, but it's small. They literally, that they have 160. Well, it's probably more like 250 artists. There's 2 separate halls for the show. They have a main show where they're juried in, which has about 80 artists. So you get those people that I just mentioned, Bob Eggleton, a couple sculptors. I mean, just everybody who is right up your alley, and you can literally just walk up and talk to anybody, because their attendance is good, but it's such a very open and friendly. It's like a gallery show. Everybody's got their booth, and you just go up and you can BS, and the bars, at the hotels, you can have a beer with everybody, and it's like, it is easily my favorite show of the year to go to, even over going to San Diego or New York or some of the smaller shows, just because I grew up on D&D, and I had all the old Frazetta catalogs, and so I just totally love going to that show. And it's near Strasbourg too, which is where Frazetta's museum is. So it's like, if you were ever going to do like get a twofer out of it, it would be to hit IX and then hit Frazetta's gallery as well, which I've never been to. I've driven by it, at least 10 times going to that show, and I still have never taken the time to go there.
I had a chance. A friend of mine ran a comic shop, and he had actually 2 stores. So he took me as a representative of one of those to a Diamond dealers, Diamond distributor, Diamond Comics distributor convention. But it was so it's for dealers. So they just gave stuff away to dealers, trying to get folks to promote their books and things like that. And I had the opportunity I didn't speak to her for very long other than saying hello, but bumped into Julie Bell offsite from there. So super nice. The Boris stuff, I mean, those were the posters of my day, or at least the posters that I had was you buy a Boris calendar, and when the month's up, you cut it out and stick it to your wall so you still have the image. I mean, I used to do that all the time.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah. No, I actually have a couple myself that I've saved over the years, and same with a few Frazetta catalogs too, or calendars, because I mean they were the thing, and Boris still puts those together too. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's definitely a cool show. If you go to, I can tell you the website, because I built they did a virtual show this year, and it's called ix-online.com, and it's basically the show that they would have done. It's it's all juried, but Boris's art's there, Julie's art's there. It's pretty cool. I mean, I picked up a few pieces from it. They started it late October, and it's probably, I think it's that particular show is going to stay online until mid-March, I think. So it's very, very worth it if you haven't checked it out.
I've got another funny convention story for you, but we can look at some art first if you want to.
Okay, sure.
So this is another one that I remembered reading, and I really enjoyed. I think this was Act of God, and if I'm not mistaken, it's like the very beginning. All the super powered folks lose their powers, and then if I remember the story correctly, but when I think this is eBay, and what an amazing, I mean, just jumped out at me, a piece that you get everybody in the JLA looking majestic and powerful, and the shadowing's amazing. So yeah, this is a piece that I really like a lot. It also has a layover that shows the sunburst a little bit better, and I think it has something else on it. So it's got like a clear plastic overlay that goes over the top of that, but I don't make it a part of my photo.
Right. This is Dave Ross.
Dave Ross.
Yeah. Very cool. No, that's a nice one. And, I've always wanted to get a piece by Dave, but I have never owned one. But I really like his art a lot. Let's see. Pull up another one.
So I had a love affair with Jae Lee's early art. It just blows me away. And it's kind of funny, and I know this is sort of sacrilegious to say, but I know that a lot of Jae Lee's influence is the Bill Sienkiewicz, probably just butchered his name, Sienkiewicz. Yeah. His work, and I struggled with his work, like in X-Men and some of those things where he was doing, I think it was Warlock was one of kind of the characters that he did during his run. I struggled with it, but Jae Lee stuff, I mean, the action in it and the power in it, just, man, I love Jae Lee stuff.
Yeah, no, me too. I loved his work on Submariner, and that's kind of from this, probably around the same time period. But yeah, that's some of my favorite work by Jay as well.
It's interesting. I read an article with him years ago. It might have been in Wizard magazine or something, and he had talked about how he was going to change his style. He talked about how he even thought he might change his name so he could kind of come into it fresh and not be associated with his older stuff. And here, just year so 2019, a friend of mine, Josh, gave me his tickets to a con that was here, and Jae Lee was going to be there. So I took this piece up there to have him actually autograph it, which you can see his autograph at the bottom because that's a fresh photo. But it was very interesting because he holds it up, he looks at it very nostalgically, and he kind of shakes his head, and I mentioned how I just love the old stuff, and I mean I like his new stuff too, and I'm certainly not trying to offend him with his new work, but I'm saying I really appreciated this old stuff, and he basically, you could just tell from his comments and the way he approached it that he really felt like internally he felt like he had matured out of this, that was, you know, kind of, that was then and this is now, and he had completely changed his style. It was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, well, I mean, every artist, I would have to think, you know, goes through a period like that, but I'm sure he has to appreciate the fact that, you know, this is a period of his art that a lot of guys really remember very fondly. And I love his new art too. You know, I know Albert sells art for him, and I know that Splash Page has some art from him. But this period is always the one that, you know, when I think of Jae's work, that I think of this style. And
yeah,
definitely. No,
I mean, I love his new stuff as well. And someone made a comment that he loves signing the old stuff. He I think he really enjoyed having it in his hands and looking at it again, and sort of probably remembering, you know, doing it. It was fun to watch.
And that's a powerful piece. Mark Texeira, that's great.
Yeah, and I don't know what this is from. I probably should. I know I've seen the image before. I almost feel like it might be a card, but I know I've seen the image before. But yeah, I couldn't pass on this when I was able to do it. I couldn't pass up on it.
Was this an eBay purchase or something you picked up from a dealer?
No, I think this came from a dealer, if I'm not mistaken. It could be eBay. I'm not 100% sure, because like I say, there was this time period where I actually gathered up some money and kind of went through and bought some things from dealers, which I had never done really, and I was eBaying at the same time, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think this might be a dealer purchase. But and yeah, I loved Texeira stuff, the Ghost Rider stuff. I mean this, the Vampirella and Black Panther stuff, or no, not Black Panther. Yeah, maybe it was Black Panther, but anyway, yeah, the just powerful. I love his style. It's very, very unique style. I'm drawn to very unique styles, I would say.
Yeah, I like, again, Texeira has always been one of my favorites too. And I think, well, I used to own a Wolverine sketch by him, but I think I sold that a long time ago, unfortunately. Yeah, I was trying to do some searches on CAF while I had the image up, just to see if I could find any history on it. I mean, I know that I've seen the image before. So clearly I've seen it in your gallery, but I'm not sure if it's so well done. It would be a shame if it wasn't published. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is one of my faves.
This is
so I came across yeah, I wouldn't even try to pronounce the name because I probably would have butchered it. I came across Hit Monkey as a series, and I was really collecting kind of I was really kind of collecting some of the more unique things. I was getting out of the mainstream Marvel stuff and doing kind of some of the more different, unique things, and came across oh, somebody answered it for us, Ultra X-Men card.
Yeah, that makes sense. From Fleer.
You know, the Hit Monkey story was obviously interesting and crazy and over the top, but some of the images were just fantastic, and this is one of my personal faves.
Now this had to have been a dealer purchase, right?
Yeah. And actually I have two, but yeah, this is my best one.
Yeah, when you had sent me the list of pieces to pick, that the link was like duplicated from the Texeira piece. So I went over and I saw the two, and I'm like, I bet he wanted me to pick this one.
Yeah, you got the right one. The other one's a great piece too. Just the bottom panel is the best part. This one's the whole thing's awesome.
Right. No, I like the other page too. I agree. The bottom panel was totally cool. And this is Eddie Newell, right?
Yep. Yeah, and this is a eBay purchase for sure. just fell in love with it. I mean, it's amazing. I was big into Sandman. Of course, I love the Death character. Was new to Delirium. Went back and was reading the books. But yeah, I just thought this was amazing. The imagery, and you got all three on the page. I don't think you could have asked for a better piece. I still get I just got an inquiry about this one just the other day. I'm just not quite ready to let it go. And I had some contact with Eddie, and I don't remember if it was in CAF. I think it was. Maybe I just came across, saw that he's a member, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. Yeah.
And I had a conversation with him. I shared with him that this was one of the most liked and commented on pieces that I always hear people, and I thought it had some really cool things. And this is the one that a lot of people are all over. So he thought it was really cool to get that kind of feedback, that how popular this piece was.
Yeah, I used to own a piece by him. I love his work, man. Because it's painted, right? I imagine.
Yep.
Yeah. His work was, very underrated guy. But I always admired his work a lot, and this is probably one of the best pieces that I've ever seen by him. And I love his work a lot. So no, congratulations on having this piece. I wouldn't let it go if I were you.
I thought about it, but I just, ones that this one's framed on my wall. It's not framed very well, but it's, I just catch myself looking at it all the time. So yeah, this is a great one.
No, his work was always very atmospheric to begin with. So I mean, you could tell he had a good time putting it together.
Now this was when I took my first stab at a cover, and so this is a Witchblade cover. I think it says Witchblade 9.
Yes.
I love Tony Daniel, and was even thinking about a Creech and a few other different things that he's done. But yeah, I again remembered it from the stand. I remembered it when it was out there. I owned it when at one point when I had my full collection, and I rebought it so that I could frame it together with the cover when I bought it. But this is one of the few cover pieces that I own.
Now, is this one that you had to sell the watch for?
Yeah, this was definitely this was a watch purchase.
Well, so then you did well. You treated yourself just fine with that. I'd say you did all right. Let's see. I'll pull up another piece here. This one blows my mind when I was looking at the detail in this piece. So, and I know there's a story behind it. So I'll let you. This is Paul Davidson.
Yeah, and this was off of a dealer site, and I can't remember which dealer. And I think Paul had just sold it to them. But this hits on like every level of my things I enjoy. So I mean, it's very, Bisley-esque in the muscles and everything. And I like the ocean. I like undersea stuff. You get the nostalgia of the old harpoon gun, and so this piece was it was a no. I had to own this when I saw it, and bought it, and then contacted him, and he told me the story about it, and he said that so it's all graphite. That's all pencil work. There's no ink in there at all. Everything's pencil, and it was done for a competition in the UK. 99% sure it was UK, and it was a contest. I don't think it won, but I think it was in like the top 2, if I'm not mistaken. And he told me that Bisley was in the same competition in the painting category, and he shared with me that he came over and looked at it and basically complimented him by saying, if you were painting, I would hang up my brush and be done. That's amazing work. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. And again, just the fact that all that detail and all the dark and everything in there, that's all graphite.
Yeah, you have to really see this piece on CAF to appreciate it. I'm sure it doesn't look as good on everybody's screens, but I'll put Ken's gallery link in the description so that you guys can check these pieces out in more detail. This is one that you definitely have to get a closer look at.
And what he did with it is that piece to the right that's kind of looks like it's just blank. That became like rock ledge underwater, and this whole thing was a lithograph that he turned it into a lithograph afterward. So it was all added in water and underwater vibe and everything. So
Right, that's right. You did show an extra image of
yeah,
the colored piece, right?
yeah, I've got them framed together on my wall. It's pretty amazing. This is one of by far my favorites.
I don't blame you on that one.
And then John Mueller, again, blown away, probably for the same reasons. You see, it's again Beasley-esque, but just blown away by Oink, his book when it first came out. I think it was Oink Heaven's Butcher. I bought this page from him actually when he was doing a Kickstarter and was wanting to relaunch Oink. He had reworked some of the art. He had, I don't know if he changed much of the story, but he had reworked some of the art and so I gave to the Kickstarter as well as purchased this original piece from him. This, again, this is one of my favorites. The image just blows me away. The detail in it and the painting just blows me away.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It even reminds me a bit of like Duncan Fegredo, if you're familiar with his work, with his painted work. It's just, yeah, no, it's absolutely beautiful. So, but I've actually never read anything by him though, so I'm not familiar with the book.
With this book?
With the book, yeah.
Yeah. It's excellent. I would highly recommend it. And I mean, visually it's stunning, so it's worth going through just for that. But it's cool. It was out there, but it's really cool.
Well, Kickstarters are definitely a good way to pick up some artwork these days. I know that a lot of friends of mine have picked up pieces lately, and I actually check Kickstarter like at least once a week just to see if there's anything interesting where I might want to either support a project or pick up a piece of artwork. So you definitely fell into something pretty good here.
I've tried to avoid it because it always costs me money.
Yeah, well, it's like a lot of projects won't get started if you if you don't do it through Kickstarter. With that IX Arts program, I do an art annual every year, and Nick Ferrucci, he's a publisher as well, so he can sympathize. It's tough. You have to raise your own money to publish a book, and then to get that darn book delivered. I mean, we had it printed. It's a book I do every year, and we had it printed. It sat in customs for almost 8 weeks. So it's like you just and trying to fund it yourself and then get the book in and try to keep everybody happy. Kickstarters are tough, and doing self-funded book projects are very difficult, but worth it. But that's why I like supporting them. When I go to that IX art show, I don't have a lot of money, but I always spend a little bit with everybody that I can, because I like supporting everybody in those hobbies. So that's why I do support a lot of Kickstarters.
It was a pretty neat kind of a crossover between Facebook and CAF, where somebody contacted me on CAF about it's actually a really good piece if you wanted to flip up from my gallery, a Brett Booth piece. It's a backlash from the Wildstorm, and somebody had contacted me, and they were pulling together they were getting with all the owners of different Brett Booth pieces, and especially during the Wildstorm days. And they asked me if I would gift my image or a scan of this to their book, and they were pulling together a book of Brett Booth. It's something that's not for sale, but it's just a fan thing where they're putting scans of pages into one book. But anyway, it was really kind of a neat way to link up with this Wildstorm group on Facebook, who also were CAF members, and again, owning the original and having somebody come to you and say, man, we really love this piece and would like to show the image. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, I should let people know. I'm always happy to promote Kickstarters. I mean, Nick knows this, but I don't get asked enough to promote Kickstarters that, are for artists that people on the site collect. And, for instance, this one, nobody mentioned it to me, but, I'm always happy to run press releases and do any kind of PR that I can to help make Kickstarters successful, because, it's super important to help independent people pull projects like that together. I mean, they're basically making an artist edition of Brett Booth's work. I mean, that's really, really cool. And yeah, actually, Tim just mentioned the same thing, like an artist edition. Yep. So yeah, no, those are the projects that need to be supported. Very cool. So I know we've got a couple other images too, but did you want to? What was the convention for? I don't want you to forget.
So going back to your, so I went to that Diamond, and somebody corrected us. It was a
retailer show.
Retailer show, right. And again, because it was dealers, everything was free. I'd never been to a convention before, so I didn't realize things weren't always free. So so I went with him, did this. They handed out all this stuff. People were handing out. They were just autographing images and stuff and handing them out. So then I go to Dallas with a friend to a con almost immediately after that. And I think I'm Big Bank Hank. I'm walking around like I really know my way around a convention, because I've been to this dealers convention. And so his name's Shane. He and I were standing in line for an autograph from James O'Barr. It was a crow image that he had. And I think I actually got one from the previous convention that I mentioned. And it was funny because he signs it and he hands it to me, and I just walk off away from the line, just like I did at the other convention. And then my buddy catches up to me, at the other end of the line. When we walk off, he's like, "Hey, dude, he said, you have to pay for that, right?" I was like, "Oh, no, I didn't. I mean, there wasn't a sign or anything. I didn't realize. Thought it was the same thing that we did at the dealer convention." And he's like, "Oh, I paid for it for you." But he said it was pretty funny. He just kind of signed it, handed it to me, and then watched me walk off. Said, "That was $10."
Yeah, James is a very funny guy. I've had dinner with him a few times, so I can picture the look on his face and how he must have felt. But I can tell you, those are common mistakes. There were moments where I've done early on where I know I made mistakes, and I didn't, and the artist didn't say anything, and I didn't go back to try to fix it because I was too scared to be like, did I do I did the wrong thing. Yeah, I remember with a particular artist, it was at San Diego, and I had said, I wanted one character, and I know that, and then I was like, and they were like, "Well, why don't you add 2 more?" And I'm like, "All right, I'll add 2 more." But when we were talking price, I was thinking that it was like, at this time, this is probably like year 2001. So it's like $40 a character or something. But I didn't realize it was $40 a character. I thought he was just going to do it for $40. So when I went and picked it up and I handed him $40, I could tell from the look in his eyes that something was wrong. But I didn't know what to say. And at the time, at the moment, I didn't think it was that. I was just like, why is he looking at me like he wants to say something more? And so, I walk away, and, like 10 minutes later, I'm thinking, he wanted to tell me that it was $120, and he didn't. And he knew that I didn't think that it was $120, and he knew it because I didn't. And so we all make mistakes like that. It happens. It really, you can definitely screw things up.
Luckily, he got paid because my friend was in line behind me, so he covered it for me. But he still makes me remember that every time we were sitting and chatting.
Right, you're not as big as you thought you were.
Right.
And I've actually never been to one of those retailer shows. I'm friends with a lot of dealers and guys that have shops, and so I hear about that stuff all the time. San Diego has a lot of different retailer focused shows, of course, where guys who have shops get to go to these retail exclusive events before the show opens, or maybe in the first hour, but they're always off site. And he always would come back with bags of stuff, it's just handing it out so you could take it back to the shop and use it to promote getting other sales. So yeah, one of these days, that's a door that I need to get through someday.
Yeah, the another kind of a small world, because I notice a lot of the folks that are in the dealers that you've worked with or had on your shows, they know people, they know artists, and I certainly don't have any of those connections, but it was kind of interesting because I moved back to Houston and went to this comic shop in Houston called Bedrock City Comics. They had 2 or 3 areas, and I bought just because I thought it was cool at the time, this shirt that had like an angel figure on it, and on the back it said Archangels of the Eternals, and it had some stuff. And then I found the book, and there's a comic book that I found that I read. And again, very cool, Christian based, and demons are down here trying to get people to do things, and the archangels were battling them and all this stuff. So really cool action, great art, and I love the shirt. The shirt was just cool. And so I moved into a house, and I walked my neighbor across the street. I noticed their mailbox was open. They had a key in it, but their mailbox was open. So I went over to let him know, hey, I noticed it's open. And he said, thanks a lot. And I turned around, was walking away, and I was wearing that shirt. And he goes, you like that book? And I was like, oh yeah, this is a great comic book. It was my neighbor was John Ledger, and he was one of the writers and creators, co-creators of Archangels. And man, we're still friends and still chat. I don't know if he's into any more comic projects anymore, but that was kind of cool. That was my closest connection to somebody that actually put books out.
Yeah, no, that's you just never know, right? I mean, where you're going to run into somebody. That's funny. And you had the right shirt on.
Yep, right shirt, right time.
Well, here we've got a few more pieces of art
Sure.
to check out too, and I think I saved some of the better ones for last. Let's take a look at this one.
Yeah, this is, and I don't know the way to pronounce the name. I'll say Yipe, Aype, and it was a commission. I saw an amazing commission of Harlequin on calf from him, and went back and looked and saw these tremendous things that he had done, and I thought, yeah, holy smokes, I got to reach out. And this is probably one of the first times I actually commissioned anything. Did not know what I was doing. Super friendly. His wife did the transaction. Super friendly. He has passed. He's deceased now. But when I got this, blown away. I mean, this is by far one of the best pieces in my collection, and I love it.
When did you commission the piece?
Yeah, you'd have to look at my calf and see when I put it up, because I would have put it up immediately, but yeah.
I'll check.
This is probably the most commented on, most viewed. This is probably #1 in my calf collection.
So yeah, 7 years ago.
Blew me away.
So I was trying to check the spelling. It's and I don't think I can pronounce the first name either. Aype Bevan, Beven.
Bevan, that's right.
Yeah, very nice.
This so I'm divorced now and recently engaged, and me and my fiance, we co-commissioned this piece from an artist in Las Vegas who very interesting art. I love it. Tats, Katatz, and this is one that is just special to us, that we commissioned together. And her whole thing is Alice in Wonderland, and when she does the White Rabbit, this is basically the White Rabbit, but then she threw a Wizard of Oz spin on it, which we thought was really cool, and put that in our home now. So this is a pretty special piece.
So you picked this up in Vegas, or?
Well, I have some of her artwork as well. A very small piece that I bought. Again, I try to only buy originals because I'm spoiled to that whole nobody else owning it thing, and so I don't tend to buy anything else. So this is a commission. I knew her from contacting her before, and reached out to her and commissioned this She is still in Vegas, but yeah, this was commissioned through there.
Very cool. Very cool. And I think this next piece is a recent commission as well.
Yeah, from Vanessa.
Yep.
This is again. So I really like this. I didn't know Vanessa, and that's part of the problem. I'm not collecting anymore. I don't know the comic work of some folks. Their reps, do a good job of, when you see somebody saying that they've got room, they'll share some of the work that they've done. So wasn't sure what to expect. Well appreciated piece. I think it's really cool. Kind of captures the old school Cloak and Dagger. It's Cloak and Dagger is something that just resonates with me from being a kid reading comics. I just really remember the characters, and at that time really thought it was cool. So it's something that's sort of been fun to go back and do. I've had an idea here recently, and I've got a commission underway. And commissions seem to be where I'm going at the moment. I mean, there's pages that I do want. There's covers that I do want. I would love to have a Sam Keith. Would love to have a Jim Lee. Would love to have a number of the big ones. I'd love to have an Eric Larson Savage Dragon. I mean, there's a lot of pages that if I ever have the money, I'd probably do it. But I find myself at the same time enjoying supporting the artists and commissioning work, kind of direct from folks that you find. So I've got one underway now. I didn't want to spring for the thought came kind of initially for me being a little bit cheap and not wanting to spring for a 2-person commission for this newer one that I'm talking about. This one was kind of going down that path. That's why there's only a head. But this was her version. This is what she did with kind of what her rep gave to her. But I'm working directly with this guy, and my thought was, and it kind of, I think it sounds cool, is a dagger, a down, time has passed dagger. Cloak's not around anymore. She's been through a lot of stuff, and a way to kind of, indoctrinate Cloak into, or incorporate Cloak into, the piece with her, whether she's got the cloak or wearing a piece of the cloak, but she's been down some roads, and it's not the pristine character that we always see. I kind of pitched that to this guy, and man, he liked the emotion that he felt like it would bring into it, and I'm super stoked to kind of see what he does with it.
That's the one you had mentioned you have out currently.
Yeah, I've got a down payment on it, and I hope to see it on CAF in 2021.
Yeah, I remember I didn't recognize the name, and I Googled it, and they seem to do a lot more kind of, I don't know how I want to say, more fantasy kind of artwork. I can't remember the name now. Unfortunately, I don't have it in front of me.
He does it.
Federico Melee.
Yeah, and on Instagram he's got a lot of, and this is where, so there's also a number of other, obviously there's some Facebook groups, and that's where I find names of people that I would never even think of reaching out to. But anyway, they turned me on to his Instagram, and on his Instagram he's done some amazing Daredevils and Punishers and Wolverines and stuff like that. So I knew we were in the right ballpark, and but it'll be cool. I mean, the thing about commissions, again, I like supporting the artist directly, and I think it's really cool to do it that way. But at the same time, you haven't seen the finished art, and maybe it's going to move you, and maybe it's not. Maybe you just get an example of that person's work. So it's and can be kind of pricey, but sometimes, it's exciting.
Right. Let's see. I'm gonna pull up that piece that we did right at the last minute with the Silvestri piece.
Oh yeah.
So just Silvestri is like one of the people that I've never owned anything from, and I have to own something by Mark sometime soon. I would prefer to get something older, probably, from his X-Men run, but yeah, I've always wanted a piece by him, and every time I seem to have one in my sights, I miss out on it. Usually because it's at auction or whatnot. I didn't, back in the days of X-Men, when I was collecting the books,
probably wouldn't have known who I, as a kid, wouldn't have known really who Silvestri was. I would have loved the art, but wouldn't have necessarily known the artist. I didn't really know the artist until the Image days. And then, so if I was going to buy a Silvestri, then it would have been Cyberforce or, something like that. And then this obviously is when they relaunched the Hulk, and he was doing some work on those early books. But maybe that's why it was on eBay, because this was an eBay purchase. Yeah, but again, I try to buy it for the art as well. And what a great, you get almost a full half the page is just Hulk physique by Mark Silvestri, which is pretty cool. And it was interesting too. On someone else on CAF contacted me one time or made a comment on one of my pieces, and apparently we had been going up against each other in a number of these eBay auctions, and they made a point to say hello and say we have very similar tastes, because I was just beating them out on a handful of these auctions. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, it's always good to make friends who like what you like, because there'll come a time where you'll be like, can you just lay off that one auction for me? I'll lay off the next one for you. And that way, you're not bidding each other up. It's always fun when I hear a couple guys get together and they'll be talking about something and they find out that they were bidding against each other. And they're like, damn, if you would have just told me, I would have stopped when we were at 5,000, but I kept bidding it up to 12. And they'll just be like, oh man, so you kind of live and learn. But that's a good thing about making friends and having people watch your back. I mean, those instances will come up where you'll see something on eBay that both of you are going to want to bid on, and you can get him to just temper his desire. You might win out. Nice. Yeah, good. I did pull up one other piece I want to share it the old-fashioned way, just because of the way I didn't set it up as an image, but I really like this one. I thought it was a really nice Batman image.
Yeah, I love this image, and I mean the old school kind of gritty in the street Batman. This artist, was it Flavio?
Flavio, yeah.
Flavio, I think. He actually contacted me. I thought it was just like last year, but I looked back, it was actually 2016. So I guess time has flown. But yeah, he actually contacted me, and I think he was promoting this is before he went. I guess he went to CAF and looked up some of his works that were in CAF, and found me through this piece. But yeah, I love this old school Batman.
No, it's really nice. It's really nice.
That's a good catch. I'm glad you did that. There's a number. I mean, I'd love to share all my pieces, just because great opportunity to show cool things and hear people's thoughts and learn other things about them.
Yeah. No. Well. Like I said, when I was going through your gallery, I'm just kind of looking at it now. Like, and the reason I knew we have similar tastes, because you have a piece by Omar Rayan, and Omar would be a person who exhibits at that IX show every year. He's always got a bottle of whiskey, and which he shares with everyone. So he's like the life of the party. And you had a piece by Aranza Sestayo, and she just started going to that show, I think, like 3 years ago. So we definitely have very similar tastes. And Aranza's work is, mind-blowing if you're familiar with her painted pieces and everything. So, but that's why Greg's such a good guy. Greg knows everybody. He is, he's super outgoing, and he's friends with everybody there. I mean, he always picks up a lot of art, and yeah, he like I said, he's a great guy to have in your corner in the hobby for sure. So
yeah, good to know we got the same taste, Bill.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I have well, you can't make it out in the back, but I have the image right there is basically it kind of looks like a dwarf, but he's a very small dwarf, because he's riding a sparrow, and that's by Omar.
Nice. So,
yeah. And
that was a commission piece that he had done for me. And again, super, I think his wife did a lot of the contact, but
yeah, she does a lot. She's an artist too. She is a potter, and her art is, I mean, it's just amazing. I every time I go there, I tell myself I'm going to buy a couple coffee mugs, and I never do. But she has, it would blow your mind. I mean, it looks like it was made 2,000 years ago. The art style that's on it, because they're all painted, but absolutely beautiful stuff. So you see their two stuff together, all his paintings and then all of her pottery. And yeah, you got to go to that show sometime.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Definitely. Well, I don't have any more art to look at. So I that's all the ones I picked. I mean, I could probably pull a few other pieces out of the gallery, but I don't want to. Let's see. I'm just trying to look at everything by most views. I mean, you have a very well-rounded. You've got great examples in your collection. That's the cool thing, and that's you collect like I do. You know, at the end of the day. And, well, you know who another artist that I saw was that Olivier.
Yep.
You know who? Yeah,
yep.
I can't pronounce his last name. Love his work. He is
super nice guy. I bought those. Well, that and I forget the name of the piece now. It's the character from. Now it's all eluding me.
Faunus.
Yeah, Faunus is the name of the character. I'm trying to think of the movie. It's based on a character from a movie. But anyway, that is man, I had that movie right in front of me too. It's a subtitled. Never mind. Anyway, yeah, super friendly guy. I bought that direct from him, and I think on CAF, I think it went up as new art, and I, you know, again, just kind of blown away right off the bat, and contacted him. I bought a couple of other pieces from him at the same time as well. But yeah, that's another one. It's so tough. You know, you mentioned grab, you know, 10 or 11 pieces, and you know, they're sort of all my babies, because they all, you know, I've you know, Linsner, my Linsner piece, I had to own a Linsner. Mm-hmm. I've got a Vampirella that, you know, there's just a lot of fun things that I just remember, you know, from the collecting days and the reading days that real fun to go back to.
Yeah.
That Deadpool's new. That's a new one for me. And then this is that's the Linsner piece.
Yeah, everybody has to own at least one.
Yeah.
Joe's a great guy. We've had a lot of fun conversations and stuff. We've always talked about doing a site for him, and it's just we've never gotten to it. So one of these days I'll hook him up, because he's always wanted to have a site and have us host it for him. But yeah, he's an awesome guy.
Yep.
And yeah, I saw you had a Glenn Fabry piece, Mike Grell.
Yeah, that was a commission, Saint of Killers commission. And then I guess another one, if you go up to the Cyberforce one, the perspective of that one is pretty amazing. Ballistic hanging below impact. You know, they've got all these parachutes slowing them down as they plunge towards the earth, and she's still got her pistol out ready to shoot. I think that's just really a fun piece.
Definitely. No, I love your collection, Ken. This is great.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you letting me join you to close out the year. It's been a crazy year, but glad to be a part of your final show for it.
No, I do appreciate it, and yeah, I mean, well, there's going to be many more. I mean, I think now that I don't think shows aren't really going to come back, and I think even if they do, we're going to keep doing these, because they've just been so much fun, and again, educational for a lot of people, you know, more than I would have ever guessed. But for me, this is more social than I've been in the hobby in probably 5 years. I had taken a few years off where I didn't go to any really big shows for about 3 years, and I don't know. You know, it's just like I want everything done via email. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just focused and just kept everything electronic. And so it's the only good thing for me that's come out of COVID and the pandemic, is that it finally got me out to do fun stuff like this. So I do appreciate you taking your time tonight to do this. And I know I think you saw your son make a comment earlier. It went by kind of quick, but he said hello, I thought. So I know you'd mentioned that he wanted to check it out later.
Oh yeah, he's 10, so I'm not sure. I think I saw my dad go by there.
Oh, was it your dad? Okay,
sure.
All right.
But
And it was
But
real.
my son's gonna love. I mean, he's gonna love seeing this on eBay. It's gonna be the coolest thing he's ever seen. So yeah, I'm gonna really enjoy that. And yeah, if anybody, I guess I'll just, hey, folks that are out there, if anybody's still watching, if you want to chat or got thoughts or got suggestions, love to hear them. Part of, I mean, doing the commission stuff too is just kind of learning who's out there and who's doing commissions and who's, who'd be great for me to reach out to, individually. I love supporting the artists, and it can be tough. And so, doing my part and having a piece of, especially an original piece is pretty special to me.
No, I mean, like we were talking before the show, we're in that same boat where we can't afford the big pieces. So we just have to appreciate all the small ones that we can get, and, and just get as many as we can and spread it around as much as we can.
The other one we didn't mention is Patrick Jones. He does, his stuff is really just mind boggling. It just takes me right back to the Frazetta stuff, and I just really enjoy his take on things.
No, Patrick, he's one hell of an artist, and he, I think, I don't know when the last I saw him, but no, Patrick's great, right? Yeah, we could talk about these guys forever.
Yeah,
one of these, maybe next year if they do an IX, I'll have to try to do a live stream from the show, just to kind of give everybody a feel for it, because it really is just nothing like that show. It's literally like just walking around a gallery and seeing all of the most important artists of the day all set up. Brahm was there. He doesn't go every year, but he's been there a few times. Ian Miller, Ralph Horsley. I mean, everybody who's like a major player in Magic the Gathering artwork or anything related to book illustration and book cover illustration, painting and whatnot are all there. It's they need 5 days for that show. I mean, it takes that much time to really go around and just appreciate everything that they have. So
that last comment there's my daughter. Love you too, Ash.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Oh, Ashley, is that the?
Yeah.
No, I called my son Ash because of the Evil Dead movie.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, but we ended up, we had to call him something else. It was Ashton. We're like, that's the way we're going to do it. But I always just call him Ash.
Nice.
But you know what? He's 22 and has still not seen the movie. His mom wouldn't let him watch it when he was young, and we just haven't taken the time to actually introduce him to it. But
his namesake.
Yeah, we should. I've gotten him sketches of Ash. I got a really nice Paulo Rivera painted, piece of Ash with a shotgun, and gave that to him. So he knows who Ash is. He's just never seen it. So yeah, I'm gonna have to,
My son's Aiden, so I guess shout out to my 10-year-old son, Aiden. Love you, buddy.
There you go. So listen, we're gonna call it a wrap. And I'm going to, I want to wish everybody a great new year, a great, new year in collecting. I think that, the great thing, that's happened, I think, over the last, 7 or 8 months is that I feel like people have been able to, increase their collections more than I've ever seen in ways that, and I think it's all about the fact that we're not traveling to shows. We have that extra money. We're not able to go out to the movies. I mean, I haven't been out to a restaurant since February. So that's the only reason I've found myself with a little extra cash. And I think most people are in that same position. And so I'm really looking forward to 2021. I think that, we can shed 2020 and kind of just bury it in the backyard. 2021 is going to be really great. And again, Ken, I'm glad you were able to share this last show with me, and we had a lot of people tune in. I think over 70 people were watching, so
nice.
It was definitely a good show. And again, I'll be on with the other guys next week, and hopefully have Albert on next Thursday. So again, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Ken, and everybody have a happy and safe New Year's, and we'll see you again in 2021.
Happy New Year, everybody.